The night shift at Manchester General Hospital was always unpredictable. But that Friday, the tension in the air was thicker than usual. The rain hammered against the glass windows, and the emergency department was flooded with the sounds of ringing phones, hurried footsteps, and the rhythmic hum of machines. Dr. Matthew Cole strode through the corridor, coat flaring behind him. At 36, he was one of the youngest trauma surgeons ever to lead a department. Confident, brilliant, and utterly sure of himself. The nurses respected his skill, but not his attitude. Behind the nurse's desk, Emma Wright, a calm and experienced senior nurse, adjusted her glasses as she reviewed a patient's chart. She was in her late 30s, with gentle eyes and a kind voice that soothed even the most anxious patients. Unlike Matthew, she didn't need power to feel respected, only purpose. Emma looked up as the trauma doors burst open. A man in his 50s was wheeled in, unconscious, blood staining his shirt. Paramedic shouting, "Male, mid-50s. Car accident on M56, pulse weak, BP dropping fast." Emma moved instantly. "Prep Trauma Bay 2. Get me Type O blood ready." Cole entered moments later, pulling on gloves, his tone sharp and commanding. "Let's move, people. What do we have?" "Emma, patient's pulse is thready." "I think we're dealing with internal bleeding, possibly a ruptured spleen." Cole frowned, flipping through the chart. "His x-rays show a leg fracture. We'll stabilize that first." Emma looked up from the monitor, concern deepening. "Doctor, with respect, the vitals are telling a different story. His abdomen's distending. He's bleeding internally. We need to open him up now." Cole didn't look at her. "I'll decide what needs to be done. Prep him for leg surgery." The nurses exchanged uneasy glances. Emma bit her lip but nodded. "Yes, doctor." As they wheeled the man toward surgery, Emma whispered to a younger nurse, "Double-check the blood units." "I have a bad feeling." Inside the operating theater, the tension grew. The monitors beeped faster, the heart rate dropping. "Emma, BP's falling, 70/40. Cole barked orders. "Increase fluids." "He's just reacting to anesthesia." Emma's voice cut through the chaos. "No, doctor, he's hemorrhaging." But Cole ignored her, continuing the leg procedure. Moments later, the monitor flatlined. Cole, snapping, "Defib, now." Emma grabbed the paddles, pressing them to the man's chest. "Charging to 200, clear." The man's body jolted. The line flickered, then steadied. A weak pulse. Cole exhaled, pretending to stay calm. "Stabilize him. We'll finish closing." But Emma could see it in his eyes. Doubt, regret, fear masked by arrogance. Later, as the operating room emptied, she stayed behind, cleaning instruments. Her reflection stared back at her from the metal table. Tired, disappointed, but still determined. She whispered softly to herself, if only he'd listen. Outside, the storm raged harder. Inside, another one was brewing. It was past midnight when the faint hum of the hospital's fluorescent lights was drowned by the sound of thunder. Emma sat at the nurse's station, updating notes on her tablet. The trauma patient was in recovery, stable but critical. Cole approached, his face unreadable. "You were right, Nurse Wright," he said quietly. "There was internal bleeding." Emma looked up, surprised. "What matters is he's still with us." Cole gave a short nod but quickly shifted tone. "Let's just make sure that next time you stick to protocol. I can't have nurses questioning my authority during surgery." Emma's expression hardened. "With all due respect, doctor, lives come before pride." For a second, silence hung between them, heavy, raw. Then the hospital lights flickered once, twice. Then everything went dark. The emergency lights kicked in, bathing the corridors in a dull red glow. A loud crackle erupted through the intercom. "Code Black, fire in the East Wing. All available staff proceed to evacuation protocol immediately." Emma stood at once, heart pounding. "The recovery ward's in the East Wing." Cole froze. "That's where our patient is." They raced through the smoke-filled corridors, the acrid smell stinging their throats. Fire alarms blared and the air filled with panic as staff rushed to wheel out patients. When they reached the recovery ward, flames were already creeping along the walls. The sprinklers struggled to contain them. Emma shouted over the chaos, "We need to get them out now." Cole hesitated at the sight of the unconscious trauma patient hooked to machines. "He's too unstable to move." "We need to wait for the fire crew." Emma grabbed his arm. "Wait, and he'll be ashes before they arrive. Help me." Cole clenched his jaw, torn between medical caution and human instinct. Emma began disconnecting the machines, her movements quick but precise. The fire crackled closer, heat pressing against their backs. Cole, if we move him without oxygen support, he could... Emma, and if we don't, he will die for sure. Their eyes locked. Then Cole exhaled sharply and started helping. Together, they lifted the patient onto a rolling bed, covering him with a damp sheet. Smoke thickened, choking the hallway. As they pushed through, a ceiling tile crashed down in front of them, sending sparks flying. Cole stumbled backward, coughing violently. Emma shielded him with her arm, shouting, "Keep low! Follow my voice!" They crawled through the corridor, flames licking the walls. The red glow of the emergency exit flickered faintly ahead like a promise. Cole coughed hard, collapsing to his knees. "Go without me," he rasped. Emma turned, gripping his wrist fiercely. "I don't leave people behind. Not patients, not colleagues." She wrapped an arm around his shoulders, half dragging, half guiding him forward. The heat was unbearable, but she pushed on. Finally, they burst through the exit doors into the cold night air. Firefighters rushed forward, grabbing the bed and taking the patient to safety. Cole collapsed onto the wet pavement, gasping. Emma crouched beside him, her face streaked with soot. He looked up at her, this quiet, steady nurse he'd dismissed hours ago, and for the first time, he truly saw her. The fire was contained 2 hours later. Dozens of patients were treated for smoke inhalation, but no lives were lost, thanks largely to the nurses who acted fast. The dawn light crept across the hospital courtyard as exhausted staff gathered outside, wrapped in blankets. The air smelled of smoke and rain. Cole sat on the curb, head in his hands. His pristine white coat was now gray with ash. Emma approached quietly, carrying 2 paper cups of coffee. She handed him one without a word. "Cole, hoarse. You should have left me." "Emma, I couldn't. You're part of the team." He gave a broken laugh. "A team I've never treated like one." Emma took a sip, eyes on the smoky skyline. "You're a brilliant surgeon, Matthew. But brilliance means nothing if you don't listen." Cole nodded slowly, shame softening his features. "When that man flatlined earlier, I realized I wasn't fighting to save him. I was fighting to prove I was right." Emma glanced at him. "And what did you learn?" He looked up, voice quiet. "That being right means nothing if someone dies because of it." A long silence followed. The only sounds were distant sirens and the rustle of the wind. Later that morning, the hospital director gathered the staff to thank them for their bravery. Emma's name was mentioned first, her quick thinking and leadership credited with saving multiple lives. Cole watched from the crowd, clapping quietly. When the speech ended, he approached her. "Cole, sincerely. Emma, I owe you more than an apology. You didn't just save that patient. You saved me from myself." Emma smiled softly. "Then make it count. Listen to your nurses. Trust your team. That's how you'll save more lives than you ever could alone." Cole nodded, his expression humbled. "You have my word." Weeks later, the hospital returned to normal. Cole's demeanor had changed. He now worked with his team, not above them. He consulted nurses before every major decision. And the ward noticed. One afternoon, as Emma prepared to end her shift, Cole stopped her at the corridor. "Cole, you know, I used to think leadership was about control." Emma raised an eyebrow. "And now?" Cole smiled faintly. "Now I think it's about trust." She chuckled. "Took you long enough." As she walked away, Cole glanced toward the trauma wing, where the patient, now fully recovered, smiled from his bed. The sunlight streamed through the hospital windows, cutting through the lingering smell of smoke, a reminder of the night that changed everything. Moral: true leadership isn't about giving orders. It's about listening, trusting, and standing together when it matters most.